let's start with Elliot Hulse, I guess, then. Elliot Hulse has a new video. This one is entitled, Be Your Wife's Boss. So let's see how this goes.
My wife calling another man boss. She got one boss right here. I don't want my woman calling somebody boss. Imagine I have to go to a meeting, or like a get together, and I get to go shake my wife's boss hand.
Yo, Elliot.
Oh, God. Is this going to be him being insecure about his wife working for someone else? He feels that her being employed is him getting cucked or something in some way? Good God. Mightiest Quinn, thank you for raiding. Welcome, raiders. You picked a great time. We're just starting a new video. Elliot Hulse did. I guess he's going to be insecure about his wife having a boss other than him. Because I believe she does work for his company, and he's going to feel insecure about her having any other job elsewhere.
Yo, Elliot, thanks for all the great work you do. I wanted to know your thoughts regarding gender roles and the value we bring as men to our families and relationships. I understand that being a provider is something we should strive for as men, and for women, raising kids and taking care of the home is something they should be doing. I also understand that this polarity helps the male-female dynamic. What about when your kids grow up and women don't have to raise kids or take care of the family in the same way? Or men don't have...
This is what I don't get about people like Elliot Hulse, is if you think that that's what works for you and your partner, that's fine. I'm not telling them they can't do that. What I don't understand is why they think this is prescriptive to everyone and that everyone will be happy with that sort of trad spouse setup, whatever it happens to be. Again, if you as individuals want those things, that's fine. I don't care. It's the imposition of those preferences onto other people as if it is the only modality of being a family is backwards and very narrow-sighted.
Have to provide as much because the kids grew up and moved on. Or what if a man and a woman never have kids? How would you identify the value in those roles if they're not needed as much anymore?
How do I value my wife if she isn't just a babysitter for my spawn? Ooh.
What does the future look like for partners who have traditional structures, but their obligations change? That's a really good question. And so I will just share my experience, my plan, and how I see things unfolding in my life with hopes that maybe it will wake up something in you guys. So my wife, when she got pregnant back in 2004 with our first child, we made the hard decision to keep her home. It was a hard decision because she was even earning more than me back then. She had a real job.
Why did you do that then? What? We could have been making more money collectively, but we decided against it because I have a penis. So obviously I have to be the one to go to work. Okay.
I was still trying this non-job stuff. She had a real job. She had insurance and stuff. And we made the sacrifice by saying, you know what? I want there to be a mother at home for our children. I don't want to send my children to daycare.
You don't have a real job at this point. You don't send them to daycare. Watch your damn kids yourself. Watch your children.
I want strangers raising my kids with their fucked up values.
Then you raise them. You're their dad.
I want my wife, who is my partner in values. We have the same values. We see eye to eye. We think the same way, right? She follows my lead. I want her to raise my children. And when you're thinking about a wife and a mother, you got to think about it in terms of hiring someone, right? Is this person going to be the right hire, right? We're going to talk about dating later because I saw one of your questions, but I've said this before that when you're vetting a woman to be your wife, you got to think of it in terms of, is she a good hire, right?
No. Look, if you mean this in the sense that everyone has standards and expectations out of relationships, and you should find a partner that fits that, at least to the extent that, you're happy being with them, great, but I don't think that's the way he's saying. It sounds like he has a checklist of like, well, they need to be a trad wife, they need to do whatever I say, and if they don't want to be an incubator for my seed, then fuck them. Like, and again, if you want to be with someone who wants traditional gender roles, that's fine. I'm not telling you can't. It's just the idea that this should be for everyone, and everyone should have the same standard. And if you don't go down this avenue and want to form a family in this way with these expectations, with this set of, like, agreements between you and your spouse, then you're somehow wrong? That's no bueno.
And it's the most important hire. Most men spend more time thinking about the type of car they want to drive than the type of woman that will make a good hire, a good wife, a good helpmate. You got to spend a lot of time thinking about it, and you have to put that kind of effort into it. People who hire people for their companies, they go through all kinds of loops. They do.
Can you get a link to torture your fiance? Sure, here you go. Tucker White says, how much do you want to bet Elliot's wife F's one of the next door neighbors while he's working during the day? That'd be kind of funny, but I have no evidence of that. RTK142 says, not going to treat my future wife like that. Good call. Antipodian Squid says, fellas, is it emasculating to raise your children instead of making your wife that you vetted quit her job that paid well and had insurance to raise them to your standard instead of their own?
Do all kinds of vetting in order to see whether or not this person is fit. You know what they want to know? Is this person fit for our culture, in our environment, our work environment? Is this man or woman going to fit into our culture? You're the culture bearer. You decide, and then you got to find whether or not this woman is worthy to fit in with our culture, how we do things around here, right? So ultimately, my experience is that my wife and I decided we're going to keep you home. This is the right kind of culture that we're going to create, where the mom takes care of the children, and I will do what I have to do to make sure you guys are well. And she trusted me. She trusted me to do that, right? That's huge. If your woman can't trust you, she's going to always have angst, and she's always going to worry, and she's going to think she needs to contribute. You got to find a way. I don't care what it is. You got to find a way to make sure that can happen. Whether you take 2 jobs, 3 jobs, that's the rightly ordered home. That's the rightly ordered way.
Why would you make both of your lives materially worse by... You're just making everyone miserable to fit like some sort of arbitrary role that you've set up or that you've ascribed to yourself due to like outdated gender roles. Like, you want to take 2 jobs that you might hate that pay less than one job your spouse could be having that would provide for both of you and your kids and provide health care, but instead, because your genders happen to be not in line with what you think is right for like some sort of traditional marriage, you're gonna both have her quit her job that might be very fulfilling to her, that clearly allows her to take care of the family, that allows you to take care of the kids and provide health insurance. So you're gonna have her quit that job, thus ruining all the progress that she made and work she did while working in that position, and then ruin your life by making you go and work in underpaid positions, probably without full benefits. Because you have a penis. Those poor kids.
But I got a lot more to say.
RTK says who, Elliot says who. Yeah, I don't know what that was in response to.
I was watching a video with Coach Greg Adams the other day, and he talked about the reality of stay-at-home moms. And a lot of times when he's talking about the reality of things, he's talking about the negative side. And these women who, they're stay-at-home moms, but when the kids go to school, they could sneak out and have affairs with the pool boy or with the mailman, the milkman, right? We've all heard that, it's the milkman. He got the milkman's eyes.
But you don't have to sneak out to Fuck the milkman. That's the whole joke about the milkman, is that he comes to your door. So he just shows up. You don't have to go out for that. He comes to you. That's a joke.
Right? So when the kids are off at school, when the kids grow up, all of a sudden that woman is, because the husband's not there. The other thing is, for me, it has always been important, and I'm happy I've established it. I work at home.
Daddy Sume says, I think polyamory would make this man's head explode.
And this is the type of mindset I want you to have. I work at home, and my wife works for me. And so whether or not the children are present and in need, I'm still going to need help from I say accountant, because she does all my books. She answers my emails. She sets up retreat centers for our events. She speaks with the insurance agents. Whatever project I'm developing for my business, she's my assistant. That keeps her busy, and that also gives her a sense of contribution to the business of our life.
Okay, but like, she could have contributed in the job she was in prior as well. Again, if you and your wife want to be in business together, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. That sounds like, while there would be struggles, it would also be a lot of fun being able to work on projects and stuff together and collaborate on things. That's excellent. But it's more so, the problem is that Elliot seems to think that outside of this context, she shouldn't be doing work. Like, if he's not there directly supervising her as her boss, then all of a sudden this sort of contribution, being productive in a job, is not suitable for her because she's the wife, but because it's under him in his business, that's like the exception. That's unhealthy. Tucker White says, take two. I love how conservatives love to tout the merits of the nuclear family, like Elliot's doing here. Read between the lines, he is. Yet always leave out how only the mother is responsible for taking interest in the in the F trophies, while the father has no obligation to do so. Yeah, there's a lot of guys who think it's straight up just not their job to be a parent at all. My dad was like that. He didn't want kids, so like, my mom wanted kids, had me, and he just like, okay, they live in my house, but I'm not dealing with them.
Right? She likes to say our business, right? Whenever she talks to like her friends, talks to people about, what's going on, and they ask her about our business. The business is Elliot Hulse, but she has a sense of ownership in it because I make her responsible for as many things as I can. So this woman, my wife, she's great at the things I suck at. That's part of the reason why I married her. She used to help me with my homework and all the bookkeeping stuff, all the communicating with people stuff.
It sounds like she basically runs the entire business, and then you just sit in front of cameras or go speak in front of people live and spout bullshit. But it kind of sounds like she's doing all the actual work to run the business. Just pointing that out, Stone Corbell, what do you want to bet his house wouldn't work either with her doing all the stuff he does? What do you want to bet his business wouldn't work without her doing all the stuff she does? Yeah, probably true.
Doesn't have to go outside the home and work for. This is what women call freedom. They get to go work for another man, not their husband, not their family.
You know that bosses can also be women, right? Just wanted to make sure. You're going to turn this into a weird, like, cuckold fantasy thing, would be my guess. When not all bosses are dudes.
But some man out there. They get to go work for some boss out there. I don't understand it, but how guys handle this, but I wouldn't want my wife calling another man boss. She got one boss right here.
Most people don't call their boss unironically either. You just know that person is your superior, and you call them by their name, or Mr. or Mrs. or Miss such and such.
I don't want my woman calling somebody boss. Imagine I have to go to a meeting, or like a get together, and I get to go shake my wife's boss hand. That shit sound ridiculous.
How insecure is this guy that he thinks that his wife being in the proximity of another man automatically is somehow emasculating? Like when she goes to like, if she gets pulled over for a speeding ticket by a cop, is he like really anxious about it because that's let's say the cop is a guy, that's a man who's technically in power over her in this context? Does that make him feel insecure too?
Here I am shaking the hand of the man that tells my wife what to do. And if I need something from my wife, she has to check with him first. She got to check with her boss because I ain't her boss.
At a party? That's not typically how shit works at an office party. Like, what are you talking about? Does he even let her drive? I'd hope so. Mike Max says he's the embodiment of brain over bronze. Bronze? And the reason why Meet Your Local Mom ads exist.
That's dumb. That's dumb. Whether or not a woman wants that, you got to vet whether or not you want to be with that type of woman. But for a man, I think that's dumb. I can't imagine my wife calling another man boss. So to kind of answer your question in a way, when the children are no longer requiring all of her attention, you know what she's doing? Answering my emails, answering my phone calls, reaching out to retreat centers, doing the books. You got to keep your woman busy. You got to keep her busy. You got to give her something to do, right? Because like Greg Adams said,
you got to give her something to do. The implication being that your partner is basically an adult child that needs to be managed, that needs to be given something to keep them busy so they don't get into trouble. Tucker White says, oh yeah, I'm convinced his wife's effing the neighbors, be it man or woman, either that or she's in the next room sharpening her sword thinking I could kill him now and nobody would suspect a thing. C.A. Corner says, he would be so attractive, but then he says these things.
If they just lollygagging around, they're bored and you're not home.
You told her to stay home. You made her quit her job. You're mad at a situation you orchestrated, you idiot.
Satan sneaks in. That's how the snake got to Eve in the garden. Adam was busy doing something. Adam was over there watching the lions play. He was over there counting the zebra stripes. He wasn't paying attention.
Why are you implying that Adam would have told her not to? She immediately went to Adam and had him try it, and he was like, okay, sure, great. Why would he have stopped her? Belm Guardian with 50 bits says, Elliot, maybe the reason your wife is sleeping with other people is because you're a dick, not because women are sluts.
And then the snake, Satan, came in, and he became her boss. If you're not your wife's boss, she gonna look for a boss.
If any woman is left alone for more than 30 seconds, they immediately seek out the closest man in power. And if there's no man, a snake will do because it's phallic, and all women are obsessed with men's penises, clearly. It's all women think about. What is wrong with these people?
Meaning she gonna look outside the house for a job, or she gonna look for a man that's gonna tell her what to do when she has nothing else to do. Her personal trainer. This guy is telling me what to do. In many regards, women want somebody to tell them what to do. My wife, and women they'll deny this all the time, but I just look at the way they act.
Women will directly to my face say I am wrong. But I believe it nonetheless, because reasons. Daddy Sune says, Hannah, they're obsessed with phalluses, huh? It's always that picture. Tucker White says, well, Elliot's made me see the light, Hannah. You should go check to see that Baja isn't looking for the nearest man. Yep. It happens. Leave her alone for 5 minutes. And she is right. She lives in a college town, so there are a lot of frat houses nearby. So
a lot of times my wife gets to this point, she's like, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what we're doing. right? And sometimes I'm
And she definitely loves all the frat guys and doesn't find them enormously annoying. Yeah, no, I know what it is. I wouldn't show the fan art thing.
acting effeminate, and I'm like, I don't really care. Like, whatever you want to do, right? But she
The other day I was I know. I was making a joke, Baha. I'm sorry. The other day when I was near your place doing the electrolysis, I drove by a frat house that was like right next to your place, and they were having a huge like outdoor party, and everyone was together, and no one was wearing masks. I really hope they were vaccinated. Tucker White says, in fact, what's preventing you from looking for the nearest man, Hannah? That's a good question. Honestly, it's sheer force of will and the fact that I spend so much time on the internet that most of the men I see are people like Elliot Hulse. And it almost wants me to become a complete lesbian. Okay, I'm joking. I'm not. I'm bi, but... Antipodian Squid says, as someone who has spent altogether too much time working for Scientologists, they overwork people for reasons that ultimately boil down to overwork people because if they have spare time to think, they'll become suppressive persons. This sounds very much the same. Gotta overwork the wife while she'll submit to the neighbor's wiles. Yeah. Captain Rose says, Hannah, I bet you smell great when you're looking for the nearest man. What does that mean? The Marusama says, oh, Hannah, I almost forgot to ask, but my boyfriend is doing electrolysis on his back, and I was wondering what you use to help with the pain. Do you use any kind of lotion? Yeah, just like a bottle of topical, what's the word? Topical analgesic that's 4 or 5% lidocaine. The bottle, not the tube, because the tube is too viscous to soak in easily. You want to get the bottle that has pretty liquidy lidocaine stuff. You can usually find this in most pharmacies. Daddy Sume says, well, I'm always looking for people to submit to my wiles. I do. Oh, God.
When I say, this is what we're doing. She may even resist and say, well, I'm not so sure about that. And she's a little bit more calculative than me. She might resist, but she will like the fact that I said, this is what I want to do. I did it today. We were down at the gym. I was thinking about some certain things I want to do at the house. She just liked the fact.
Yes, I know what words mean, Daddy Sume.
That I'm making decisions about our future. That gives a woman a sense of security. This man's thinking about what he wants or what he wants for us. Right? But you always got to be moving. You got to be ascending. You got to be growing as a man. You're never going to be stale as a man. And you got to bring her along and keep her busy. Make her a part of your kingdom, what you're doing. Do you ever notice in the game of chess, what's the most powerful chess piece in the game?
The queen?
Of chess. The queen. Right? The queen, because the king keeping her busy. That's why she's a queen. She's busy doing all this stuff, protecting the kingdom, taking care of the situations, while the king does kingly stuff. The king is setting the stage. He's speaking with God. The king is always praying. That's why he could set his queen and his bishops out to take care of things. You got to keep her busy. One last piece I'll put out there as well. And of course, it depends on the woman, right? It depends on the woman. That's why I began this whole conversation about you got to vet these chicks to be worthy of your employment. That's what you're doing. You're employing them. I heard it put once this way, and it was referring to like the Victorian age. And like when romance came about, I don't remember who was talking about it, but like during the Victorian age and like how a man would be in relationship to a woman. It was like, courtly stuff.
Nick says, well, considering the queen has the most movement and the king does fuck all other than move one space at a time, Elliot is truly a king here.
And the author said something to the effect of...
Here comes like That old trope of like, oh, back in the old days, things were so good. Sure they were.
It is a man's responsibility, or what a real man does is he goes out into the world and discovers things, learns things, develop things so that he can bring it back and dazzle his wife. You have to be always expanding and then introduce.
I was going to invent pasteurization, but then I realized I didn't have a woman to impress, so as I said, why do I care about the safety of dairy products? Like, what the fuck?
Introducing her to new stuff. I'm forever introducing my wife to new stuff. She didn't used to work out. She didn't lift weights. Why did she? And now my wife is jacked. She's all shredded up in her shoulders and shit. I just sit there sometimes when we're working out. I just stare at her because I'm like admiring my wife's body. But she wouldn't have done that if she wasn't inspired by the spark. I'm the spark. She's the bonfire. I brought this to her. Boom. Check this out, babe. I introduced her to all kinds of concepts, new ways of thinking.
Nick says, breaking news, Elliot Hulse only wants a wife who's easily distracted by shiny things. Daddy Sume has a horny chat I'm not going to read. Bellum Guardian says, the only dairy that horny dudes care about are mommy milkers. Tucker White says, I love how Elliot thinks he'd be a king and not a filthy plebeian serf in the fiefdom.
She adopts my language. A lot of times, like, you guys get to listen to me, a few hours a week. She gets to listen to me all the time. If you get an opportunity to sit down and talk with my wife, you'll gain some wisdom. Why? Not because she's not wise herself. She's a great woman. She's a perfect woman. My perfect woman. But because she's adopted the culture that I brought into the home for her. Right? She doesn't adopt everything I do. She doesn't like everything I do. But you know what husband is always doing? Husband is always introducing her to something new I just discovered. She came in today and she's having problems with her ankle. Boom! You guys know I had the answer for that, right? Because I've been studying Knees Over Toes Guy. I fell in love with Knees Over Toes Guy. I've watched a bunch of his videos. I bought his course. And guess what? My wife got a problem. I can deliver. I can introduce her to something. You have to always be introducing your wife to something new, bringing new culture to her, introducing her to things that you can enjoy together, right? But it's got to be the right kind of wife. It's got to be the right kind of woman that could do that. So when you say, when you don't have to, the kids moved on and she doesn't have to do that anymore. And the roles, two things, man. Two things, I'll just leave you with this. Number one, you're always her boss. You're her boss with the kids, right? Because she stayed at home.
Why would anyone want to enter into like a consensual relationship with someone who treats them as a secondary element in their relationship? Who wants to be subservient in a relationship? And I'm not talking about the like BDSM way. I mean in everyday life, being told what to do, and not even as like a kink thing, but as like they genuinely feel that you deserve less say kind of way. It's so gross. Who actively works against their own agency and their ability to make decisions in their own life? It's sad. Devious Chilstra says, okay, real talk, my perfect woman sounds so groomy, you know what I mean? You should fall in love with someone for who they are, not who they can become. I don't know, is that just me? Is this a Chipotle take? No, I agree. You should, it's not a bad thing to look at your partner and help them be a better version of themselves in however way that's reasonable. But, trying to completely mold someone into a different person, yeah, that's a losing strategy.
You're the leader. You're the head.
Daddy Sume says, I mean, Hannah, some people enjoy that seriously, like giving up control permanently, though it's mostly in between long-term committed partners. I could talk for hours about this topic. I'm sure that exists, which is why I qualified the statement outside of, kink stuff. This isn't about some, control kink where you want your partner or whoever to like have complete control over you, and it's like a thing that you're into. I'm talking about this. This is not a fetish for him. He's just like, he just doesn't respect his wife as a fellow partner.
Head of the household, right? So you're always a boss, and then even when the kids are gone, because you are building stuff, because you're creating stuff, because you're always moving forward, you give her more work to do. As my kids have gotten older, my wife has gotten more and more responsibility for my business. She didn't have any responsibility in my business up until like maybe 2000, practically when we started moved into this house, maybe 3-4 years ago. 3-4 years ago, all of a sudden, like I started just giving her more and more and more and more work. Now it's kind of like it's like a part-time job for her. But we're moving to the ranch, and I got a whole lot more work for her to do. I already told her about the events that we're doing. I already told her, I've been telling her about all kinds of new shit we're going to be doing. I'm going to need her help. I'm putting on events. She's going to be cooking for 100 guys, or at least putting together the catering, right? She's got to help me organize those events. Part of what, and I'm just sharing my story again, part of what I see for myself in my future, because you always have to think about the future, is I'm building a retreat center, the Strand Camp Ranch. And it's going to be a family business. I'll have chores for my kids to do, but my wife, the queen, she's going to be very busy making connections, putting things together. And so you got to keep her busy. And so that's number one, always be her boss. You're always her boss. And then number two, always showing her new stuff, giving her new interests, right? Women generally don't have interests. Most women.
What? Look, I got an instant headache. Tucker White says, Elliot's right, folks. Healthy, stable relationships aren't built on shit like chemistry, shared interest, being there for one another when things go wrong, and other hippie liberal nonsense. It's about adherence to a rigid lifestyle and one-sided conforming to a partner's ideal traits. Hannah, assert your dominance over Baja, lest you want to be the wife in the relationship. I do want to be the wife in the relationship. The idea that women don't have interests is so illuminating as to how little Elliot actually knows about women. Even his wife. If he thinks his wife doesn't have or didn't have interests before she met him, what does he even really know about his wife? Genuinely. Jesus Christ.
Not all. In this day where women behave more like men, yes. But a lot of women don't have interest. Most of what women do, like when they go online, is entertainment. It's men that are the ones that like get obsessed about certain ideas and start like, we go into these like mini studies. You ever get into like a mini study?
Oh my God. Has this guy never been in an online space of mostly women before? Good Lord. Tucker White says, all right then, Baja, assert your dominance over Hannah. Now or later is the time to strike. I'm down.
Like, wow, there's this area that I just got real fascinating, and you study all the videos about it and read all the books about it. That's more of a masculine thing. Men.
No, it's not. There's tons of times that, like, either Baja or I will get into some internet topic. Like I'll look up, Chris Chan stuff, and I'll be super into it, and I've shown Baja, like, videos about Christine, and, like, she's interested by that. Or she'll send me some other internet drama type stuff, because I'm really big into, like, internet drama, and she'll send me a series of videos on this and be like, oh, check out this weird thing, or whatever. This is just how human beings work. Like, what? You get into things and you talk about them. You're a couple. Why is this a one-way street for you?
And do that. Women, they're not really doing that. They're entertaining themselves. When my wife gets on the internet, she's not researching shit. She's on Facebook looking at what her friends are doing or her sister's doing and then complaining.
Do you think interpersonal relationships with your friends and family aren't an interest? Like talking with the people in your life that you care about? That's considered an interest. You know that, right?
That's it. Me, I don't even go on Facebook because I'm too busy learning shit, discovering shit. But then you know what happens?
You might want to be learning a little more shit if this is what you consider knowledge.
I have something to give to her. So I'm not worried about her finding stuff. She's not going to find anything. She's not interested in anything unless I show her. Hey, look.
How is the ego this big? My wife never likes anything unless it's something I show her. Jesus Christ. Be very careful, John says. Is it just me, or does Elliot's manner of speech kind of sound like Jake? Not the content, but his explaining cadence. I can't unhear it. Let me think for a second. I kind of understand what you mean. Fieldwell says, get into things and talk about them, damn it. Enough with this womanly entertainment.
And my wife is great, because if she knows what direction we're going in, right? I make this decision, we move in this direction. That gives her excitement to go and start figuring shit out in that area too. Because if it benefits her, she's more interested in like, oh, okay, well, I see this is where we're going, like we're moving, right? And all of a sudden she's getting on the Nextdoor app and she's finding all these homeschool groups and she's meeting new people in the neighborhood we didn't even move yet too. She's busy. You know why? Because I just gave her something to be busy about. We're moving. Get busy on that. Get busy on setting things up for our kids when we get there. And she's loving it. She's as happy as ever while she's doing that. So
Stephen J. Neptune Man says, women have no interests. What about women who play video games, women who paint, women who knit, women who watch wrestling? They don't exist. Elliot just said. Did you not hear him? History Chick 96 says, yes, I don't do any research for my degree. I just go on Facebook. And then Abby, my dudes, thanks for subscribing for 8 months.
You got to be that kind of man, and you got to find that kind of woman. Do what you want. I'm just telling you what works for me. This is the kind of guy I am. This is the kind of situation I'm in because of the type of woman that I choose. If you want to learn how to do something well, you look at somebody who is already doing it well and you follow it. You do what they do. You don't reinvent the wheel. It's working. It's working for me. Now, my kids are still young. I don't know what it's going to be like if they get up and move. But guess what? I'm already thinking about that. I'm already miles ahead of that. Given the state of the world, I don't know. First of all, I'm not paying for my kids to go to college, so they ain't leaving that way unless they want to save their money and go to college. But I'm not sending my daughters off to be lunch meat at some university where they're gonna be drinking and pounding. I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it.
Elliot, if your kids want to drink and, quote, get pounded, they're gonna. Jesus Christ. If they're adults, you don't really have control over what they do, so chill out. Lord Necro JZ, thanks for gifting 5 subs to the community. Parents who care deeply about their adult children's sex lives creep me the hell out. Like, like they're an adult. They are an adult person. Their sex life is literally none of your business. Tucker White 94 says, Elliot, quote, I found this separate browser system with a bunch of tabs open to stories along the lines of how to murder your husband, how to clean the blood, how to hide the body, etc. Now I know my wife doesn't have those interests, so I'm wondering who's breaking into my house and using my computer, end quote.
Doing that. Not paying for that. Right? That's when the children get destroyed. Send them off to university, come back liberals with blue hair. I ain't doing it.
Oh, God, for the love of God, one of his kids better get a blue hair dye at some point. Please. I hope those kids go out and become the most lefty leftists. I hope they're so left-wing that they annoy me and wind up on Tanky Watch. Just to see Elliot's response. Nick says, if there's any justice, his daughters will grow up and forget about his influence. That would be good. I would imagine if those kids spend a little bit of time in the real world, hopefully they'll realize that their dad's kind of a huge piece of shit that clearly doesn't respect them because of their gender.
So I'm already thinking about this plot of land that we're about to buy. What's unfolding. I would love nothing more than for my daughters to find good husbands. And I want to get along. I want to get along with my son-in-laws. And we'll work on the ranch together. I'll build you a nice
Oh God, I hope his daughters are lesbians.
little house over there on that parcel. Build a couple houses if you want. You can raise your family right here. I want my family to stay close. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Only time will tell. To be continued. But I want to keep my family together. At least I want to have the opportunity to keep my family together. That way, you say like the woman doesn't have anything to do. You know what women love more than anything? Being a grandma.
One day, I'm gonna have a baby. And you will call her mom. That baby will have a baby, and you will have this song to know that
I am your grandma. I am your grandma. I am your grandma, mama. I am your grandma.
So this is a gift I give to you. Like I already said, that there was a time I was aware that one day I'd be dead. I wish we could have met. I would have hugged you so. But you are in the future. You get love by video.
I am your grandma. I am your grandma. I am your grandma, mama. I am your grandma.
Lord Necro Jay-Z says, I used to be an edgy piece of shit, but I'm glad I never believed in this shit. That's good.
Ask any grandma how much more they love being a grandma than being a mom.
Probably because they get to have fun with the kids without a lot of the responsibility bullshit. Shi Hakujin says how to traumatize someone who doesn't exist yet.
I know my mom. I know Colleen's mom. Any grandma, ask any grandma. They love being a grandma. So I want to create a situation where my wife could keep her hands will be busy with her grandkids. My mom, we're all gone. All my siblings, we all left the house. My mom stays busy with the grandkids. On the weekend, she can't wait to see her grandkids. My sister, she watches my sister's kids. My mom is busy. My mom's busy with the grandkids and doing what? Serving my father. Because he serves her.
Look, if your mom enjoys, babysitting her grandkids, that's wonderful, and I'm happy for her. But to imply that is every woman's, happiest theoretical role is gross.
He still works. He still fixes cars. You know what my mom does? She makes sure there's a meal on the table when he gets home. She makes sure that his clothes are clean and folded it when he needs it. She makes sure the house stay clean. That's enough to keep your hands full, right? So that's it, man. That's the way I think it. That's the way I see it, and that's my answer to that. Done.
Yo,
Good dismount off that video. So here's what annoys me about all this. Again, like I've said many times, and I say all the time with the Elliot videos, if you and your significant other or significant others or whoever are in a consensual arrangement together, and you want one person to have a specific role and the other person to have a different role, if that conforms to traditional gender roles, like you have a wife who wants to, or a girlfriend who wants to be basically a stay-at-home mom or whatever, take care of the house, take care of the kids, or whatever, and you want to go out and work, that's great. That's fine. If that's what makes you happy, that's wonderful, as long as everyone involved wants that to be the case. The only issue is that Elliot Hulse seems to not just want to do this because it's what he personally prefers. It's like he thinks this is the ideal modality of being a family, with those specific genders in those specific gender roles, and if anyone has any different permutation of that, then they are inherently going to have a worse time than him and his wife. That's not really fair. I know we've been making jokes throughout this stream about, oh, we gotta help Elliot's wife. But look, it's possible she really does enjoy the relationship as Elliot describes it. I find it horrifying, but I'm not everyone, and I don't expect everyone to feel the same way as me. But just the idea that that's the ideal is pretty ridiculous. So, that's enough, Elliot. We will move on